you can just rejoin. We'll be monitoring to let people back in. I think that's
Marina.
it.
Join the meeting.
So does anybody have any question about? All right, in a second, I'll go ahead and do it now so you see. I'm gonna share my screen. And so now I know you can probably see yourself and 2 other people. There's a little white arrow. You can kind of scroll around to see who's doing the talking. But we are going to, without further ado, get started on our meeting. So we're gonna just, first of all, I'm already welcoming you, and we're gonna review a couple of little projects, hand out our 3 awards that we always hand out, have an election of our board members, and then we'll be done. I wanna say, it was a crazy year. 2020 was crazy for all of us. I think we'll all be glad to see it in the rearview mirror. Certainly when the pandemic happened and the governor ordered everybody to kind of shut down, RACC did it. We shut down, we stopped holding in-person meetings. We held board meetings by Zoom. We actually canceled, it breaks my heart a little bit, we canceled our annual cleanup thinking, oh, the pandemic might just be a few weeks and it would just be delayed. Sadly, it became clear very quickly that the marathon and getting through COVID was going to be a marathon and not a sprint. So we decided we need to, pick ourselves up and keep going. So it's been a really busy year of our usual educating members of the community through a variety of events and speakers, educating members of the local government on topics like concentrated area feed operations and whether they're good for our waters, advocating on CAFOs, on climate change, on our most recent one, thanks to anybody who participated, was the recycling, advocating to have recycling come back to Rockbridge County. And I'm happy to report, if you hadn't heard it yourself, that was a successful campaign, and the town council is now working hard on finding the money and getting recycling going again. And volunteering, our same, lots of volunteer efforts, water quality monitoring, planting trees is a great example. And so actually that will be our first presentation, will be David Agner, one of our board members, is going to tell us about a tree planting effort that took place in the spring. So I'm gonna start in. So David, take it away.
Thank you. Well, after the removal of the Jordan Point Dam, RACC partnered with the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, which is called DGIF, as to address some potential erosion upstream of the dam removal. This photo shows the dam as it exists today after the removal. You have the next slide, please. Back in early March, we met with the DGIF down at the river, and we assisted them in some tree planting up along the banks of the Maury, upstream of the dam. We used several canoes. We had 10 people, 5 from the DGIF and 5 volunteers from RACC, which is like Bob Biersack, Chris Wise, John Adhow, Peggy Agner, and myself. So we planted about 600 to 800 live stake trees, which comprised of red twig, dogwood, willow, and sycamore. And DGIF provided all these trees for us.
Lion.
Hello?
Join the meeting.
And we planted starting just above the dam and went up upstream to about the first rapid, somewhere about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile up the stream there. Next photo, please, Julie. The live stakes we planted were about 18 inches long. We planted up from the water level up to about 3 foot above the water level along the muddy banks here. The red dots you'll see in your photo here are where we planted the live stakes last spring. Next photo, please. We went back last October, about a month ago, just to check on our success. And this is a success of one of the willow trees with the arrows pointing to one of the trees there. Next photo, please. And here's an example of where some of our less success, shall we say. These were all we found these to all be dead. But as you'll notice, the vegetation is coming down the bank to cover up some of the muddy areas. Next photo. Here's another example of some success. Some of the redwood, the dogwood trees the three red dots show some of the trees have grown several feet high since last March. And that little slide there apparently is used by either the students of one of our lovely colleges to get down to the river. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how they stopped. Okay, next slide, please.
I think that may be the last one. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Okay. Well, I thought I had more. Anyway, in addition to our planning out there, we had another slide. I must have not sent it in to Julie, but there was a lot of volunteer success. Volunteer vegetation's come in along the banks there. There's a lot of volunteer sycamores growing in areas where we did not plant. So I think everything's coming back together along the riverbanks there. There's very little evidence of any erosion along there at this present time. So I think it's been somewhat of a success. We're going to go back out next spring and just to check on everything and take some more photos to document our successes of the trees. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. Otherwise, that's all I've got, Julie.
Great.
Anybody questions? Okay. Ooh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, our next project was, well, I'll let Lee explain, but Lee Merrill, pardon?
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. I was wondering, were all of the trees planted on the north side, north bank, or were they all planted on, you know, that far bank of the river?
We planted on both banks. Majority of them went on the south bank, the Lexington side of the river. Okay. We had one landowner that has several lots on the other side, did not agree to the planting at this time. So we had to skip several lots on that side, on the north side of the river. But okay. It was on both sides generally.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And how far up from where the dam used to be was the erosion? And did you get trees planted the whole way of the erosion?
I'm estimating like 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile. There's a riffle or old small rapid where the water level kind of goes back to natural. Where the from the we've tried to cover the area that was affected by the removal of the dam, and so it kind of petered out up about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile upstream. So, yeah.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for David? Okay. Well, our next. Oh, go ahead. Did I hear? Okay. So our next project, we're going to hear from Lee Merrill, past president and current board member, talking about the Sunnyside Trail development. Lee, are you with us?
Okay. Yes, I am. I just had to turn the button off. Okay. My remarks. Sunnyside in Rockbridge County here refers to this historic red roof Lexington's western frontier and the many hundreds of productive farm acres surrounding it. Sunnyside Trail is now the name of RACC's owned property along Ross Road, a gift from the Bartenstein family of 12 some acres, trusting in RACC's conservation mission and our can-do spirit as land stewards serving our community. Members of RACC's Land Conservation Committee, Chris Wise, Bruce Bittner, myself, and Arthur Bartenstein and others have made good progress this year in this new trail extending from the Woods Creek Trail out to Boxerwood and the Brushy Hill Trails under 2 miles to the west. With its further development, it will advance the now decades-old vision quest of the RACC-inspired Brushy Blue Trail, reaching from the Appalachian Trail in the Blue Ridge to Lexington's Brushy Hill Parkland. The next slide is basically shows you the plan that we have developed to try and get all our thinking down as we go forward. We've begun partnering with Boxerwood and the Kendall community, using as this illustrative master plan produced pro bono by Arthur Bartenstein's Lexington office, ABL Landscape Architecture. Built on goals, including managed native forest succession, mowing for wildflowers, bird life, and local wildlife habitat, the plan calls for maintaining and framing the outstanding long Blue Ridge Mountain views, protecting the riparian natural areas from intrusive uses, and using memorial tree planting to reforest a limestone barren geological feature about halfway up the hill. That's the blue circle on this drawing. Dawn to dusk, public uses are going to be governed by rules that have been developed for RACC by Bruce Bittner, one of our partners in this, for the owner. This is RACC's property. We get to say its mission, oversee its adjustments, but work facilitating a partnership with all the people that have a play in this property. The master plan transforms the route up the hill, which is currently just a straight shot up the road fence line, to a switching serpentine route, easing grades and improving experiences. The plan has also determined the preferred route of connection around Kendall community and on up to Brushy Hills. Anticipating the trail's popularity, a modest car parking facility is envisioned for the grassed flats down at the lower end of the property. Convenient for Lexington folks seeking a close-in walking experience for an easy walk in a verdant.
Join the meeting.
The plan has also located the best feasible route for the trail's connection on into Boxerwood, and is currently working with our residential neighbors as partners toward that end. The next slide gives you an idea of this view shed down. You're almost to the top now, and looking down, it's a lousy day. I'm sorry for the photograph, but it's breathtaking, particularly late in the afternoon when the sun is streaming down across the whole valley of Virginia up to the Blue Ridge, somewhere up to the north of Buena Vista. Probably one of the finest close-in views that you can find in Lexington extant, and a whole property frames this view. See the long view, blah, blah, blah. It's a remarkable bridge view from Lexington. It's also got a framing by, we hope to focus by forest succession planning, so that we can make this view even more dramatic as we allow more trees to come back into the frame. The the next slide focuses on, well, back up. I'm missing a slide, but in this picture, that mound in the middle down there in the view is in fact a limestone barren. And the plan foresees using that as a planned shaded resting atop this exposed limestone feature, which our team hopes could become a memorial planting position. And I'll talk about that in a second. But basically, we're calling this Spencer's Knob at this point, or Overlook or whatever, because it deserves to be a place where other community groups are encouraged to, if they have the impulse to plant trees, is go ahead and reforest in this area. And so that's the purpose, that's the plan's idea at this point. So we hope to channel RACC and other groups that might want to get involved in planting projects. The last photograph leads me to make this comments that we're basically seeking to realize the Bartenstein family vision of seeing what this place is, a special property to become a very popular walking trail for the greater community of Rockbridge and Lexington, with linkages into Boxerwood. And it's right at the edge of town. And this partnership with both Kendall and Boxerwood is very exciting. The mowing you're seeing is being done by Kendall. This is part of the Kendall area or District 2, and there's new and exciting ideas being explored. That's about all. Oh, and we're also working clearly with the Boxerwood team, because we have to forge a crossing of Ross Road at Munger Lane. And that's developing nicely, and we hope to see progress on all of these connections in 2021 if some further planning work this winter gets us down the road. So that's my report. Are there any questions?
Who will maintain the trail?
The mowed footpath, Kendall is offered or is currently gifting the community and doing that work. And it's something we hope we can maintain that partnership. Obviously, the mowing of the grassed areas to see it reforest and to go back into wildflower meadows in several places where that's appropriate is really on RACC, and most importantly on the development of the Friends of Sunnyside Trail. We're going to build on the same model that was successfully used for the Chessie Trail and at Brushy Hill to find a small core group that can, with the tutelage and experience that the RACC board will bring to this to launch it over the next 3 or 4 years, that we really fully expect it will be a neighborhood collective collaboration of people doing it. But Boxerwood is a partner, Kendall is a partner, RACC is a partner, and we don't know who else might step up. I understand Washington and Lee just bought the country club.
Really? Wow.
Lee,
Yes.
well, would you go back to the picture that shows the knob and use the arrow to point out exactly where it is?
Bringing the white cursor. Do I have control of that?
I do.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So is that it?
Right there.
no, down at the very middle of the picture, there's a green knobby thing. Now go up.
Oh,
Yes, that.
Oh,
That is a bunch of berry bushes. That's a bunch of berry bushes and other thriving community of awful, nasty stuff on these rock barrens that have very cool lichen, and there might be rare species there that John Knox might want to come and help us figure out. But we're not trying to change it other than it's a special place on the way the paths work out, and it's the interesting limestone feature, and it's got great views from there, and it's about halfway up the walk. So that's that location.
thanks.
So Lee, as you said, there's obviously a lot of nasty stuff in there. You can see autumn olive everywhere.
Yes.
Is there going to be an effort, and I'm kind of volunteering?
Yes, we realize that all of our model land use models have an opportunity to be shown here as a laboratory to everybody in the community in terms of when do you mow and who does it and who pays for it in the end, but what are you getting for it in terms of ecological services by having thriving quail populations, for all I know, in there. So the committee that's working on this is really hoping to collaborate with all the subset scientifically based nature people that will make these transformations happen. And we know it's going to take a few years. This field, all of these fields have been hay mowed for the last 20 or 30 years, it looks like, but creeping in has been all of the invasives, and to the effort we can push those back and get them gone from the natural forest succession that we do want to occur, that's certainly our goal.
Okay, so that's going to require considerably more than mowing. Mowing's just going to exacerbate it.
Hundreds of us on the ground for a good Saturday event.
If we need to have a discussion about that, we can work on it.
Yep.
any other questions?
I just want to add, this is Bruce Bittner. I just wanted to add that Bob makes a really good point, and that's part of our plan that we're going to have to work on in the future. And we'll have a committee that will be further developing the plan that Lee has presented. I really want to thank Lee and Arthur and all the work that they did on that. The one other point I wanted to make just for the membership's knowledge is that the long-term plans for this property is that RACC is going to act as sort of a holding company, if you want to call it that, holding this and preserving this land for the indefinite future, with a long-term plan that should the county develop, say, a Parks and Recreation Department or some other entity that could handle outdoor recreation activities and stuff, there's the potential that we would transfer this land to such an entity. So right now, RACC's role is main goal is to preserve this. We want to develop the trail system and all as Lee described. We want to get the property under control naturally, as Bob described. But long term, we're looking for possibly handing this off to the county.
Thank you.
Very
Okay.
good.
Anybody else comments or questions?
I was just wondering, and this may not be known exactly, but what is the approximate length of the trail as planned as in the plan?
I wouldn't guess, because there's several switchbacks that are still under study as to which is the preferred way. And you're talking about we're talking about thousands of feet here. We're not, and where you have to define to me, where does the trail start? We're really trying to facilitate the trail's connection, not only through the Sunnyside property we control, but through the lower edges of Kendall back out to the city sidewalk system and into the Woods Creek connection.
Okay.
So That's a matter of definition. I should make a preface that. I don't think there's a mile of paths in there, but there
No.
are a couple of
No,
parallel
maybe
things
half.
going on.
You know, it'll be great. I talked to yesterday to somebody who lives on Ross Road who said, you know, how great it would be when a lot of students, I guess, passing, you know, down the sidewalks of Ross Road, trying to get up to Boxerwood. It'll be a great thing for them to be on the trail and not on the road.
One big hope is to get that gate over the little Sunnyside Bridge, the ancient Sunnyside Bridge, open to pedestrian traffic. The bridge has to be evaluated and safety has to be a concern, but that's a goal in the partnership with Kendall.
Okay. Shall I move on to? So our next project is going to be described by Brian Jenkins, another one of our board members.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, should we watch the video first and then I'll talk about
Okay.
a short video.
So somebody tell me if you can't hear the sound when it gets started.
I'm on the Uncas Trail today in the city limits of Lexington, Virginia. It's located on Shop Road at the end. Go to the end of Shop Road, and when you're at the gates looking at the city maintenance area, just make a right-hand turn. There's a sign there that says Trailhead with an arrow. Follow that down to this parking area. Once you're there, the trail lies over to the end on your left. It's a nice wide trail all the way down to the river. When you're paralleling the river, you're way up over top of it. You're hundreds of feet up over top, so it's fun to kind of slow down and take a peek over to the left. You're on like a cliff. If you keep following that road, you'll end up on a beach area down along the Maury River where you can stop to fish a little bit, sunbathe, hang out. It's a great area. And then, of course, to come back, you got to go the same route, but a little bit of a climb, but it's a slow climb. You can do it.
Sorry, there we go.
Okay, so that was Steve Shires, I guess a local fellow. I don't know him personally, but has been enjoying the public access of the Uncas Trail and would encourage everyone to get out and explore. It's a nice walk. And I think just in working on this project, I've learned that this trail has been in existence for quite some time with varying degrees of use, but perhaps dating back even into the 18th and 19th century. I was talking with Chris one afternoon, and he had heard somewhere that to evade taxes, sometimes the towboats would park a little prematurely before they reach Lexington and be inspected and whatnot, and would onload and offload some of their goods and come up that nice gradual slope there. And just, one little piece of the history of this trail. There's a photo, I'm not sure if we've got it in the slideshow. There's been an old home site there on the property. So one of the old black and white photos. Then at some point, the city of Lexington owned the property, and it was the city landfill, until the 50s or 60s, at which point it passed back into private ownership. And Andy McThenia acquired it in April of 1996 via public auction at the courthouse steps. Shortly after that, in 97, Virginia Outdoor Foundation performed a biological assessment of the property. And so I think he had sort of had an idea of conservation easement all along with this piece of property. And they identified several things. That photo that you're looking at on the screen is Melica nitens, which is the three-flowered millet grass. It's a rare grass native to Lexington's limestone barrens and bluffs. So it's, I guess, a notable species. They're listed also in the easement document are the James River spiny mussel, which is federally and state endangered. I think the W&L biology department has looked for those, and so they're native to this section of the Maury. Also, native to this section, the rubble coil and dwarf wedge mussel, state endangered. They're not listed on the federal list, but they're nonetheless. Then in 2017, approximately, the Lee McLaughlin Conservation Partners Group were approached by the McDanias to explore conservation easements once again. And that was around that time that the idea for the Uncas Trail sort of originated. But there were several hurdles that needed to be overcome in that process, one of which was the language of the Lexington Comprehensive Plan did not talk about conservation easements within the city limits. So that was sort of the first point where RACC became involved, lending a letter of support, and that we thought that the city of Lexington probably ought to allow conservation easements. And so, that was the beginning of RACC's involvement in this project. And as the conservation easement idea went forth, the city of Lexington did amend its comprehensive plan, but one of the components, or one of the scoring parts of the conservation easement was for public access, and RACC was later approached to. Andy asked if RACC would be interested in holding the easement as the third party allowing for the public access. And so we've been working with Andy and the city of Lexington, trying to broker an arrangement. And it is very near completion. Happy to report that all the points have pretty much been ironed out, and we're just waiting to sign and go to closing, and then RACC will be the owners, the holders of this trail easement. And
shall I go through the slides real quick?
Yeah, so let's go through the slides real quick. So that's approaching the trail. You're coming up Campbell Lane, where you hang a left on the shop road. And then when you get to the city shop, you would hang a right. It says trail parking, which is right there, right at the end of that gravel path. And off to the left, as we saw in the videos, the trail goes through the woods. It's a very gentle slope on the trail. It's nice and broad. He's overlooking, especially this time of year, you overlook the river, and it's probably somewhere between a half mile and a mile one way from the parking area down to the beach. So round trip, mile and a half, maybe.
So now it's actually a loop from, instead of just straight in and straight out, there's this additional loop.
Right.
Adding to the trail and taking you through some different woods. Yeah. Any questions for Brian? I hope everybody goes and gives it a hike.
Well, RACC would like to either sort of christen the trail or do an Uncas Trail Day when things normalize a bit more, perhaps spring of 21. Time to be announced.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? So we may not be able to see your hands when the screen is shared. Okay. All right, well, without further ado, we can move on. So those are just 3 of the projects we were working on this year. Lots of things like that. Anybody that wants to get involved, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for volunteering some work or some planning effort. I'm going to get Bruce Bittner, who you heard before, talking about the Sunnyside Trail. He's our treasurer as well, so he's going to give us a brief report on where we stand financially.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. you just saw a good presentation on some of the projects that RACC has been involved in, but those are just really kind of the tip of the iceberg of the projects. Julie mentioned several more earlier, but what really makes all this happen is the volunteer work of all the members, the board members, the community, and also the financial support of the community. And I think it's encouraging that even during this time of the COVID, where I think every nonprofit you talk to is really struggling for funding right now, that we have still been fortunate enough to have financial support from our community. In the pack of information you should have gotten a financial report that you can look at on your computer or you can print out. So I'm not going to go through the details on that. You can read that at your leisure. It's very exciting reading, I might add. But one of the two things there on the second page, there's two graphs that have been done. This is the first of those two graphs. And what we're showing here is trying to get a handle based on our past years. And you can see we have 4 years shown there, the heavy black line obviously being 2020, to show the number of donors that we've had this year. And you can see that even with the COVID, we're staying pretty close in line with what we've done in the past. Better than 2019, but a little bit below the other 2 years. And then if you move on to the second graph, which is the next slide. There you go. And you can see that the amount of donations pretty much corresponds with the number of donors. And once again, we're sort of in that same crux there at this point, end of September or October time. But one of the big things you can see from this is that this last part of the year is the most significant fundraising time for RACC. This is the time of year that we really depend on for end of year giving to help us meet our budget. All the things we've described are being done by our group for the community is done on what I refer to as a shoestring budget. Our total budget usually averages just about $53,000 a year to get all these things done to help protect our community and its environment. So we just want to stress to their membership, and if you know other people you want to share this with and communicate with, that this is the time of year that's crucial for us to meet the additional 52% of our budget that we need to make our projected budget for this year. And if you want more information, you can write questions in the chat, and either Larry Evans, who is the co-treasurer with myself, we'll go back and give you your answers, or you can refer to the document that was sent to you if you want to read some more information there. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. So, Greg, I think it's...
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Bruce and Julie. The next on our agenda, we're going to have a nice video starring RACC board member David Harbour. It provides a very good overview of RACC's mission and activities, and it ends with an appeal for donations to the Edgar W. Spencer Fund for RACC at the Rockbridge Community Foundation. A couple of quick remarks. Most of you know that Ed Spencer was the quintessential environmentalist and conservationist in the Rockbridge area. He was a RACC co-founder over 40 years ago. He was an active board member for decades. Ed passed away on January 8th of this year, and obviously his legacy will live on. He started a fund for RACC at the Community Foundation, and David's video talks about the need for us to achieve a goal of $4,000 to vest that fund. And what I will tell you is, since this video was produced, we achieved that goal more than threefold. So enjoy the video, and I'll be back in a minute.
RACC works to conserve natural and cultural resources in Rockbridge County, and we've been active in the county for over 40 years. The main things that RACC focuses on are education, advocacy, and action. So when we need it, we get people out providing information, we hold seminars, we advocate for what we think will best preserve our rural lifestyle here in Rockbridge County. We're here this morning standing on the entrance to the old Sunnyside farm, and RACC is going to be holding the land or the easement for the trail extension that's going to connect Woods Creek Trail to the Brushy Hills. So that's the last in the series of work we've done on trails. The Chessie Trail started off in RACC, and then we're part of the water trail that connect all the hiking trails and the canoeing trails in the watershed. We've worked a lot with water quality and teaching people about streams and stream monitoring. For the last 25 years, every spring we hold a cleanup. We have hundreds of people who go out and clean roadways, from little kids to grandparents, and pick up tons of trash from the highway. We've had a number of seminars about issues of land use, zoning. We're currently working on home solar arrays. In the future, again, there's a lot of work with solar energy and land conservation. Lots of work moving forward with the House Mountain arrangements and conservation of House Mountain. Living in Rockbridge County, we benefit from the natural resources and the cultural resources. The years of farming and years of forestry have still left us a wonderful natural area intact, and we're trying to preserve that. A generous RACC member started the Community Foundation Fund in RACC's name, and we have about $4,000 left to go to vest that fund with the Community Foundation, and then we would get returns on it in perpetuity. It never is easy to raise money, and RACC has been sort of living year to year. Many years we don't have enough money in our budget, so having a fund with the foundation that we know the return every year and we have a guaranteed income would really take some of the pressure off. So we're really looking for members to help us reach that $4,000 goal.
So as I was saying, we've not only reached that goal, we've done it threefold, but I would encourage anybody who would like to further give to the Ed Spencer Fund for RACC at the Community Foundation. We're happy to have donations. And as David said, there's nothing like a permanent endowment to give you some stability in your budgeting and planning. So we're now going to go to one of my favorite parts of the RACC annual meetings every year. And you all will remember that for many, many years, we've honored local individuals and organizations for outstanding work in conservation and environmental work. And this year we have three awards that we're giving to organizations. Those three organizations are the Southern Environmental Law Center. I'll refer to it as SELC. We're really pleased to have with us today Greg Bupert of SELC. And if our technology is helping us out here, we might even be able to spotlight Greg. But Greg, we're glad you're on board. Another one of our awards is going to the Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance. And we hope, I think that Lou Freeman is here representing ABRA, as I'll refer to them. And then finally, an award will be going to the Washington and Lee Law School Community Legal Practice Center. And there may be some folks from the Washington and Lee Law School, Belmont, and others. If you are, thank you for being here. So I'm going to give you a little background on these awards, and I'm going to speed read them because there are a lot of words. The Southern Environmental Law Center, SELC Award, is the Relentless Warriors Award. Our region's rivers, streams, and forests were in the crosshairs of a massive, highly controversial natural gas pipeline. The Atlantic Coast Pipeline, the ACP, was rushed forward by Dominion Energy and Duke Energy, even though it lacked strong market support. Worse, they planned to pass the enormous cost on to the customers. The ACP would have fragmented some of the most intact forested landscapes in the Southeast, including the George Washington and Monongahela National Forest. Cutting across steep slopes and through rivers, streams, and wetlands, the pipeline would have put numerous bodies of water at risk of increased sedimentation and harm to sensitive species. Not only would the project have harmed our region's environment and communities, it would have disrupted the lives of people living and working along its 600-mile route. And the bottom line, it wasn't even necessary to meet the region's demand for natural gas. The SCLC worked tirelessly on numerous fronts to challenge the construction of the ACP. At the federal level, SCLC challenged the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission on its decision to permit the project. SCLC made the central argument against the pipeline, showing that the project was not even necessary. The proposed project had received approval from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the U.S. Forest Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Park Service, and the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. SCLC litigated against those agencies in the federal courts for years. July 5th, 2020 was a huge day for the environment in Virginia. Duke Energy and Dominion Energy abruptly canceled the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. This did not come out of nowhere. SCLC and its coalition partners had proved again and again that the project was unneeded, unwanted, and eventually those facts forced Dominion and Duke to make the only rational choice and cancel the project. RACC is therefore very honored and pleased to present the Relentless Warriors Award to the Southern Environmental Law Center. Our second award to the Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance, ABRA. This is the David and Goliath Award. The Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance is a coalition of 51 organizations, including the SCLC, founded in September 2014 to oppose the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. As you heard in the SCLC award, the ACP would have disrupted some of the most ecologically sensitive areas in the eastern United States. The proposed route would have traversed steep mountain slopes and fragile karst topography, creating a potential hazard to regional water supplies. It would have brought unjustified risk and cost to many rural communities in its path, negatively affecting property values and rights. ABRA's contributions to the end of the AC project were many, varied, and important. Here's just a sampling. ABRA produced a weekly e-newsletter on the latest developments on the ACP and other relevant pipeline news, plus special alerts. I look forward to Lou's email just about every week. ABRA maintained a website as a resource for key documents, studies, regulatory actions, and other pipeline issue developments. ABRA communicated with public officials, the media, and the general public on pipeline issues, including press releases, letters to the editor, and speeches on the ACP. ABRA helped member organizations create programs and grassroots strategies by developing materials, conducting seminars, and through individual consultations. ABRA coordinated strategies among members to maximize collective effectiveness. You've already heard the result. Dominion and Duke abandoned the project. ABRA played a significant role in achieving that landmark win for Virginia's environment and its citizens, and therefore RACC is very pleased and proud to present the David and Goliath Award to the Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance. Thank you, Lou, and thank you, ABRA. Last but not least, and this is a mouthful if you want to read this on the certificate, we are awarding our first ever Premium Pro Conservation Natura Gratis Adjuvanda Award to the Washington and Lee Law School Community Legal Practice Center. I'll refer to them as the CLPC. Literally translating the Latin, it says the award for aiding for free the conservation of nature. Washington and Lee's Law School's Community Legal Practice Center provided key legal advice, research, and document drafting for RACC and its easement agreements for the Sunnyside Trail, and the Uncas Trail, which you've heard quite a bit about. The Sunnyside Trail, again, was donated to RACC by the Bartenstein family and provides a public trail that will connect Woods Creek to Brushy Hill. That does connect Woods Creek to Brushy Hill. The Uncas Trail provides public access to the Maury River from the trailhead near the Lexington Public Works. CLPC worked with RACC and its committees, as well as the easement donors, to produce documents that memorialize the intent of the transactions and legally ensure their permanence. CLPC, a little background on CLPC, they provide free legal services for residents and organizations in the Rockbridge area. CLPC recognizes that Rockbridge and its community are a friendly home to the university, and CLPC are proud to give back. CLPC is a legal clinic at the Washington Lee Law School. Clients are represented by student attorneys who are dedicated to community service. All the work is closely supervised by a member of the law school faculty licensed to practice law. CLPC has grown from a long commitment to serving the public and to serving the whole client. It was founded in 1968 as the Alderson Legal Assistant Program. The clinic provided a wide range of legal services to the inmates of the federal prison camp at Alderson, West Virginia. Its services and clients have expanded in the area steadily since its founding. The CLPC continues this dedication to public service and to practice skills that address a full range of legal issues a client may face. RACC is grateful for the generous time, talents, and efforts of the CLPC on its behalf, and are therefore proud to present this mouthful award, the Premium Pro Conservation Natura Gratis Adjuvanda Award, to Washington and Lee's Law School Community Legal Practice Center. Thank you.
Yes, thank you to all of our awardees and to our high school Latin teacher for advising on the Latin. I don't know, Pat, if you're on the phone. Thank you very much, or on the call. So thank you very much to all of our awardees. So, our last order of official business that we do every year at the annual meeting, and then when this is done, I think Greg will sort of maybe close our meeting, but we'll leave the Zoom call on as long as people want to chat with each other. So our last piece of business is we elect our any new officers and board members who serve for a 3-year term. So our new board members, I think both of whom are on the phone, so or on the call. So I've got their pictures up, but you want to, if they, you can use your little caret, your little arrow at the bottom of your gallery of people to skim through and find them. But I'll tell you a little bit about them. There was a short bio in the program that you received by email yesterday. So first, Melody Tennant on the left there. She's newish to the Rockbridge area. She spent 38 years as a teacher and an administrator, mostly at a high school in California. She says there was never a dull moment and she loved every minute of it. But the day she retired, she moved to the Rockbridge area and married her old friend from her college days at UC Berkeley, Butch Snow, and she's been happily living here ever since 2008. She has been kind of environmentalist extraordinaire. I don't want to give it short shrift, but I could go on for probably 15 minutes with the things she's been busy with. She has been working in the schools. She works at the Y doing classes on Let's Move Lexington. She's been writing grants and bringing different programs to the local schools. Veggie Brigades, Virginia Healthy Youth Days were two of the programs that she's brought. She got really busy dealing with plastic waste in the last year, inspired by a story in Stanton about two friends that collected their plastic for an entire month. And just, Melody, were you one of the two that collected the plastic?
We're 3 of us.
There were 3 of you, okay. So you and 2 friends collected your plastic for a month. We were all, it was reported heavily in the newspapers. We were all appalled by the amount of plastic. And so Melody has devoted a lot of her time and effort to educating the rest of us about plastic waste, including my favorite thing is helping organize the construction of a huge kind of chicken wire mesh whale that can be taken from school to school. I think it's called Flippy the Whale, and children can fill it up with their household plastics. And it's Melody developed the curriculum, and it's been instrumental in teaching kids, what happens to all that plastic? Well, a lot of it ends up out in the ocean, filling up our marine life. Let's see, what else? So I think it went to every school in Augusta and Stanton counties and was headed to Rockbridge County when the pandemic hit. As we all know, she's taking her son, or in the process of getting her son back to Las Vegas, and you've got a granddaughter there in Las Vegas who visits you every summer in Lexington, stepchildren in Stanton, and in Russia. So lots of busyness going on in your life. It doesn't sound like you've slowed down a bit since retirement. Then we've got, did you want to say a word or two? I see you.
No, I mean, I would like to, at some point in time, be able to, for all of us to clap to all the wonderful presentations and the hard work that's being done in RACC. So maybe.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to putting you to work on some of these. Our second new board member is the Reverend McKinley Williams, also newish to the Rockbridge, Lexington area. He was born in suburban Philadelphia, grew up in Detroit, Michigan, was the product of the Detroit Public Schools, and then went to college at the Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas, and the Andover Newton Theological School in suburban Boston. Before he came to Lexington, he was a pastor in Detroit for more than 20 years. And since 2017, he's been living in Lexington and has been serving as the celebrated senior minister of the First Baptist Church. While in Lexington, he serves on several boards and is involved in lots of community efforts. One that he was telling me about that I was really particularly proud to be associated with you, McKinley, is they've opened up, the pandemic has hit everybody hard, but especially working parents. And they've opened up a center in the church for children whose parents need to work to give them a safe place to come and do their homework. So we're super excited to have you. He says his passion for a cleaner environment developed after he, living in Michigan, observed the Flint water crisis up close. So yeah, we're happy to have the Reverend McKinley Williams joining us. And I know you're on the phone. Did you want to say anything, Reverend Williams?
Yes, good afternoon to everybody, and I'm honored to be here, and God bless each and every one of you.
Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward to having you both coming on board. So without further ado, including our two new board members and one returning board member who served, Eli Fishpaw, served for a while, has taken a hiatus and is coming back with us. This is our current slate. Are there any additional nominations from the floor? So we're re-electing about a third, well, a little over a third of our directors and 2 officers. Okay. I should say, and I should have said this before, part of electing new directors is saying farewell to old directors. And we are so honored to be able to thank Fred Fevrier for his service, many, many, many years. I won't be able to do it justice. He and his wife Phyllis, who I believe are both on the call, served as directors, volunteer leaders of different projects, all kinds of things for many years. After a little hiatus, Fred rejoined us for a 3-year term, during which he was not only a director, he led our energy and climate subcommittee, was the chair of that, and he spearheaded, most significantly, spearheaded the development of a resolution for local governments, asking them to commit through a resolution to develop energy and climate action plans. So a huge accomplishment, just getting that going, and it's an ongoing effort, but we so appreciate that work, Fred. So as we say farewell to Fred, we need to elect our new board. And so Jim, can you turn on the poll?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
But,
Barbara, are you able to turn on the poll? There we go.
Barbara,
So if everybody, So all you got to do, we've got a poll. Everybody can click yes or no. If you approve the. Okay. It's looking like a unanimous. Shall I click? Oh, people are still voting. Looks like we've got about 7 people left to vote. I don't know how to, do I accept mail-in ballots until November 12th or whatever North Carolina is doing? Okay. Why don't I'm gonna.
How to vote?
Oh, I think mine is not letting me vote, but you should have had a.
Mine did.
Okay, yeah. So a yes or a no. There we go. Share results. So it looks like, I don't know what I did wrong.
I still don't see anything, but I certainly vote yes.
Okay, well, anybody who didn't get a chance, maybe I should ask for any nays, anybody who doesn't approve. And then we will call it. Yeah, well, 100% of the 30 who voted, but
okay.
A couple of us couldn't, anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you. Oh, I should have stopped sharing. That would have maybe made the difference for somebody. Okay. All right, well, cool. It looks like we have a unanimous decision to support the board. So I'm gonna turn off my sharing screen. And Greg, did you have a few words? Or?
I do. First of all, I want to do a quick shout out to Lauren Marina and Matt Chris with Washington Lee Law School. They are on the call. I didn't realize, but they were definitely key to the work that we did on Uncas Trail and Sunnyside. And thank you both. And what I would say is it has been a challenging year. We've already said that. But it's been extraordinary to see how people have used every kind of resource to achieve what RACC needs to achieve. Our mission is as strong and vibrant as it's ever been. Barbara and Jane and Julie and Bruce and Larry and others have just done remarkable work in the, with lots of challenges and still succeeded. We had just about to conclude an annual meeting that is virtual, a first for RACC. And personally, I hope it's a first and last, unless it's an option for the in-person meeting. But I want to thank all the existing board members, the new board members for coming on, the RACC members and supporters. It's a great organization. I hope it lasts for many years and continues to do all this great work. And thank you all for sharing your Sunday afternoon with us. Sayonara.
Yeah, and I think, like we said, if anybody wants to stay on and chat with each other, that's great. We missed that part of our annual meeting, the having a glass of wine and chatting. But
I missed the wine and the food. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for everyone that organized this. This was really great.
Yeah, thank
you,
everyone. Great job.
Agreed. Julie, you did a great job.
Well, everybody did a great job. So
yeah, and thanks to Jim for managing the tech and getting me in there when I was having.
Absolutely, thank you, Jim.
So I look forward to meeting other board members and more free-form conversation in the future.
Absolutely, thank you, Eli.
Thank you all for a great meeting.
Thank you.
So Sally, back to Sally. I was remiss. Sally has been unbelievably productive during this time, producing the newsletters, being our secretary, having flawless minutes. My bad, Sally.
Not bad at all. Secretaries are meant to be seen and not heard.
Not true. Not true. You're great, Sally.
Thank you.
Did anybody do any lovely hikes today or anything you want to tell us about?
I had water monitoring with 2 W&L students and we ate tacos.
Oh, that's cool.
You didn't go check.
It was fun.
That's nice. Chris, where did you hike? I saw your hand go up.
A hike with the community hikers. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hike with the community hikers who went over to basically over to Green Pastures and went up. If everybody knows about Green Pastures, it's the old black recreational area that's been taken over, I think, by Dalford State Park. But the trails go up into the National Forest, which is GW Jefferson National Forest. And it was really nice. Very, very pretty. Great trail, sort of not very well marked, but it was a good day.
Always a good day when you can be outside.
Yeah.
And when Andy McNamee, I didn't see you on there.
Hi.
Yeah, when you have the screen shared, you can't see everybody. Well, thank you. Another big shout out to you. Thanks for the.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Matt, where are you now?
I think Matt may have left. Matt Chris is he's a lawyer with Hunton and Williams, I think, in
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Richmond.
Mhm.
Richmond.
And Lauren is, I think, down in Louisiana. I don't remember. Oh, I'm sorry. There you are, Matt. Sorry, you saw. Did I get this? Did I get the firm wrong?
Can y'all hear me?
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, no, you're right. The firm changed names 2 years ago. It's now Hunton Andrews Kurth, but same thing. And yeah, I'm actually a commercial real estate attorney, so that was the first transaction.
So you're a real lawyer now, huh?
Still a baby lawyer, but yeah, real lawyer. And thank you all for the opportunity. You all have a fantastic organization and a great mission. So it was an honor to be included in that.
Thanks.
And I hiked Crabtree Falls yesterday, which was beautiful. So.
Oh, that's cool. I just want to say, Matt, while he was still a law student, he really worked hard to get that Sunnyside property done before he left. And I just want to say I really appreciate his extra effort he made to get that done before he left. And probably the only reason, if he is a successful real estate lawyer today, is because he did that Sunnyside property.
Absolutely.
Oh, by far.
So I'd like to say that it's really an exciting time to advocate for the climate because we now have policy leadership at the state and federal levels that see that as a problem, and that's new opportunities. And therefore, this is a time to develop that understanding in the public and then push for policies when we see an opportunity. So that's why I got on the RACC board, because I see potential partners here for that to expand to the larger public. So hope I can find others in this group to participate in that.
I just want to say thanks to all. It's the second one I've been to. I think it's lovely. Was particularly thrilled to hear the description of the awards. And I really appreciate being in this group. You guys are all inspirations. And now I'm going to go count some bacteria.
Oh, great.
You have an exciting life.
At RACC. Bye.
Bye-bye. Billions.
Oh, Sally, did anybody do a screenshot when we were up to whatever our max number was?
I've taken screenshots, yes.
Cool. I didn't even think to.
What was our max number, Julie? Do you know?
I saw 42 at one point.
Wow, that's great.
Okay, yeah, that's very respectable.
I don't know. Was it higher? Did anybody see?
I saw 7 times 6.
Okay. Yeah, once you do once I'm sharing a screen, I just see a couple of people, and I was pretty focused on not screwing that part up, so I didn't notice. But I did hear people dinging in and out throughout, so maybe we had grand total a bigger number.
I think it went well.
42 is about right.
That's great.
Yeah.
That was near the beginning of the meeting, and I took a shot of each of the two screens. So I'll get those out and see how that worked.
Yeah. Well, I see some new faces. I don't know. Lucia and who else?
Well,
Thank you for joining us.
If you push your cursor around, most of them will come up with a name.
Mm-hmm.
Like John Wise.
I was just going to say that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Because sometimes my laptop doesn't work too well. But anyway, I was just going to say how grateful I am for the public lands, including those ones so near Lexington, or even actually in Lexington. Today I had a little picnic by the former dam at Jordan's Point. It was beautiful. And I've been walking up in Brushy Hills on these several days recently. I'm hobbling a bit because I still have a sore ankle, but I'm getting better. And the leaves and the trees are just so incredible. They're such a peaceful feeling. And I noticed that people seem to be out enjoying the woods, just the surroundings. People are just very much outdoors these days. So we're very fortunate, I think, to be able to do that.
I'm on the Chessie Trail several days a week, and I can tell you there's a lot of folks out there.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm a member of the board of the Friends of the Chessie Trail, and we have trail counters on the trail, and the participation or the use of the trail on the Buena Vista end is going way, way up. And of course, on Lexington end, it's much higher just because people are getting out, which is great.
It is great. Well, one of the things I like best about the annual meeting is having a glass of wine, and I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, poor Gretchen counting bacteria. I'm going to go have wine too.
All right. See you, everybody. Thanks
Bye.
a million.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
See ya.